Guess who's back again. Fikayo's back. Tell your friends. Hello, you guys. Welcome back to At the Table podcast, a virtual table where we discuss all things young adulting. Oh my goodness, it feels so good to be back. And I guess there are just seasons in your life where you wake up and you realize that you're not who you used to be, and you're not quite who you're becoming either. And that in between is uncomfortable, but it stretches you. And if you pay attention, there is a quiet beauty in it. And that's where I've been these last few months, living, growing, loving, losing, and slowly becoming. And today, I want to talk about that process. I want to talk about where I've been. I want to talk about my own becoming. And I'm really excited to be back. And then also some episode and podcast changes that we've made. But I'm really excited to be here. Thank you for having me in your ears. So if you've been listening for a while, you know that it's been some time since we've gathered here. And in that time, for me, life has been a lot. And well, I started a new job. I moved to a new state I loved, and I also lost, and I've made some new friends, and I've said goodbye to old ones, and now I'm also currently sitting in my last semester of my MBA program. And through it all, I've grown in ways that I didn't expect, and it hasn't been perfect, honestly. Some days literally felt like survival, and others felt like breakthroughs. But when I look back at it now, I can see that even the chaos had purpose, and every shift, every ending, every beginning had all been shaping me. And with all of that being said, it felt right to come back to this space with a clear vision. And this season is called Becoming, and that's why I named the title this. And today we're going to notice a few changes in my podcast as well. As you should have noticed that we have a new podcast cover. I thought it was just time for a new cover change. We haven't had a cover change in so long. So I did take some pictures, and now I have a new cover. Also, episodes will now be dropping on Saturdays instead of Fridays. The reason is because it just gives me a bit more time, and it allows me to be able to post these podcasts on Saturdays where I am like a bit more available and free as opposed to Fridays. And I think that the podcast in this season will also feel different. There will be fewer guests this season, not because I don't want them, but I'm in a space right now where I'm trying to figure things out, and I want us to figure it out together. I want us to tussle through it together, and that's what this podcast initially was made for. I made it when I think I was like 21, when I was figuring life out. And I mean, I just feel like in this season, I am still figuring life out, and bringing guests on here is also really hard, and it takes a lot of coordination, and I'm not ready for that. I'd rather show up as me as opposed to not make an episode because something didn't happen with the coordination, So I figure we could just kind of grow through this season together. And before I get lost in the purpose of this podcast, I guess when I really sat with it, I realized that what I wanted to do the most was to create a space where we can grow up together. And that's the purpose of this podcast. So we'll explore themes in this season. We'll explore themes that I'm currently wrestling with, books that I'm reading, again, lessons I'm learning in real time. And to be honest, layered, reflective, and it's going to be raw. And I'm excited to do this season with you. Okay. So one of the biggest changes this season's also going to have is that I'm going to be introducing a new segment. And it's Let's Talk About It. And sometimes it's going to be a moment from the week. Maybe it's going to be a cultural conversation. And other times it's going to be a space that I'm wrestling with. But either way, this is where we can slow down, we can reflect, and we can process life out loud. because leadership is not about having every answer, but it's about being willing to ask the questions and sit with the tension long enough to be able to learn from it. So when you hear me say, let's talk about it, you know that things are going to get real. So in the heart of this conversation is obviously the theme and the message of this podcast. And I wanted to talk about becoming, because that's literally where I am right now. And as I've been sitting in this season, I have learned 3 reflective truths. And one of them is becoming means letting go. I guess I'm learning that as you step into a new version of yourself, you can't keep clinging on to the last one. And in this season, I've lost many things that meant a lot to me, but I've learned that it's necessary, and that letting go isn't easy, and it's not uncomfortable, and sometimes it can be painful. But in that surrender is what we're making space for who we're becoming. And I think I'm learning in this season that when something leaves, something else will come back and fill the gap. You just need to make sure that you do the work to make sure that it is productive and it's good for you and it's healthy. But something will fill the gap. Something will make you feel whole again. It's just a matter of time. It's just a matter of if, not when. And in that, I've also learned that becoming requires trust. Trusting in God's timing, trusting that even if there are detours, that the detours are working out for your good. Even if there are tears, those tears are watering something beautiful. Even if the door closed, that door held something behind it that you weren't ready for. And it's all a part of God's story, the bigger story. And it's just coming to, and I know that kind of thinking encourages delusion, but I do believe that there are some delusions, right, that are good for you. I do believe that there are some thoughts and some patterns that inevitably can help you, because what has happened, right? Or the door is closed that has closed. Now it determines how you're going to process it, determines how you're going to move forward from it, and then the actions you're going to take. So I feel like it's better for you to think cognitively that, it's probably best if, as opposed to you lamenting that this thing happened or it didn't happen. And also just to believe that it's all a part of the grand plan. I know that's also kind of a bit of a delusional thought, but that's okay too. It can be productive. And if it helps you to believe that, then I don't know, lean into it. And that's what it has helped me do. It has helped me navigate, I guess, hard feelings of denial and pain, I think. But it's been good. It's been productive. And then the last thing that I've learned in this season is becoming is ongoing. I thought that when I would get a specific job, or when I would have a specific car, that I would be there, and then I got the specific job, or I got the specific car, or I got the specific degree, and I never felt like, I arrived. And I'm learning that you don't arrive, you just unfold. And that's the most beautiful thing about becoming. There is no deadline. Every season invites us to release and learn more fully about ourselves and lean more fully into ourselves. And that's been pretty. That's been nice to see myself unfold, to see the different layers of Fikayo, seeing the versions of me in me come out that I didn't even realize were there, that I didn't even know existed, seeing me stretch to a level that I didn't even know I could get to. That has been the testimony. That has been the story. And I am so excited, I guess, for the later versions of me as well that will come, as I get to watch me unfold and me become and me be this woman that I have in my head, that I know I'm not quite her yet, but I'm getting there. And I guess to kind of close out, I'll ask you guys a question that I've kind of been sitting with, and perhaps maybe it'll serve you too. But the question is, who am I becoming right now? And am I leading myself in purpose? Who am I becoming right now? And am I leading myself in purpose? No pressure, no rush, just some reflection. And I think as you think about that, I want you to think about becoming more intimately. Who are you becoming? I think I read a quote once, and I think I spoke about it here, but that your life is what's the English? What's the word? It's like it's just basically your life shows all of the decisions that you've made. Your life is entirely made out of your decisions and what you've done, and where your headspace is at. I know that all of us are born into different situations and circumstances, but your life is entirely based off of what you've decided to do with it. I don't want to sound like I'm not considering the fact that sometimes it can be hard and different people have harder circumstances, but still at that, it shows what you did with it. And then also, I'm cognitively intentional with the fact that if you have an aim, like your life will follow in that direction, like fishing, right? If you know where your target is, your line is going to go in that direction. And then when it's reeling back to you, it's reeling back to you in the same direction that it went to. So I think I am always trying to be cognizant of where I want my life to go, so that as I'm making plans for today, it's generally in that direction. So perhaps maybe that's something you can think about too as you are reflecting. But becoming is messy, and it's beautiful, and it's also ongoing. And in this season, we will embrace it together, because I'm going through the mess, and I'm also going through the beautiful, and I'm also going through the ongoing. And I hope that if today's episode resonated with you, you share it with a friend who's in or between their own seasons. And if you want to keep this conversation going, please comment. Spotify has that ability for you to be able to comment, and I'd appreciate that. Again, new episodes are dropped every Saturday, so pull up a chair and we'll be here next week, right here at the table. Goodbye.